Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Paranormal Pride. I'm your host, Denise Pridemore. I hope that today finds everyone well and thoughtful, and try to be kind to others today, or every day for that matter. You know, got enough crap going on in the world. But we're not going to talk about crap today. We're going to talk about all kinds of different things with Kat Hobson. You guys may remember that Kat used to be my producer, and I used to be on her network before. And we're really good friends. And she is going to come on here since most of you may never have heard her speak. And she's got all kinds of stuff that she shares. So she's also the host of Fate Magazine Radio on WBHM-db.com, as well as, I think it's fatemagazine.com. So trying to go off memory here. She's also the host of Paranormal Experienced with Kat Hobson. And she knows, like I said, she knows a lot of stuff. And we're going to get her on here and we're going to ask her about a lot of that stuff that she knows. So welcome,
Hey. Kat. Hey, Denise. How are you?
Fine.
Good.
The reason I asked you to be on was, first off, when you spoke at the conference back in September, you did a really good job. And of course, I can't share that with anybody until I get it to you.
Thank you.
But I wanted to talk to you about some of the things that you shared during that conference that you're willing to share with us. But
Sure.
On top of that, is there something you want to tell everybody about you so that they'll know what questions they might want to ask you?
Oh, gosh. I've been a paranormal investigator for actively going out places and being public with it for over 10 years. I have been able to investigate a lot of really cool places on the West Coast, the East Coast, and I went to Scotland last summer and got to investigate some places. And while I would never recommend the tour company, the country was amazing. So that's really that was fun. I've been doing UFO conferences. I was credentialed as press for the very first Alien Con and the second one. And then they started going against my winches trip to Key West every year. Key West won. But I do still enjoy getting to see the guys when I do. And I participate with the Scientific Coalition UAP studies they're out of Huntsville, but it's a world organization, and people who are the scientific side have to be I know an higher degree is required. Most of them are at least singular PhDs that they've got vested interests and experience through NASA with the rocket science. They've got some of the most interesting people I've ever met from all over the world. And the last 2 years have been virtual. This year was, but the people that participate with stuff like that, I mean, they're finding answers. They're looking for answers. They're people that are really amazing in their field. There's some off-the-wall thinkers. And I love ufology. I love spirits. I love helping people who are having problems with things in their home. I just enjoy what I do and all of it. And I'm really fortunate to be the host of Fate Magazine Radio because they've been in publication since 1948. And the very first cover was the Kenneth Arnold UFO, where the term flying dishes came from.
You guys can check out Fate Magazine.
I love that mermaid edition.
So you guys can get back copies of these online.
Yes.
So if you need to know more about that, let me know. I know where to tell you to go. And if you can't find me, you can always find Kat. She's always out there.
I am.
And
and I'm always online. So there's that too. You can find me, friend me. We can chat about UFOs or ghosts or whatever.
Hey, Lori, how are you?
Hey, Lori.
What
That's
is
my investigation partner?
Oh, I know. You guys go to quite a few places together. And now that we're closer,
we are. Yes.
Yes. I'm excited.
Me too.
So what is the American Noetic Sciences Research Studies?
That is a Frank Lee thing. He called me one afternoon and said, can we talk? And I'm like, he's my research partner. He can't break up with me. So, yeah, we can talk. I mean, it wasn't like your husband saying that with that tone, So anyway, it was funny because I was like, what are we going to talk about? And he told me about it. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I like this. I love investigating and I love the anomalous things. But when it comes to the science side of trying to find out what's making these things happen, well, that's a whole different world. It's still paranormal and it's still anomalous, but we don't know why. And to me, just trying to get through, I know we have the Estes methods and things of that nature that we use, but those are not really scientific. I mean, they can still be manipulated aside from what you can measure. And the trick with the paranormal and trying to document that is to find repetitive information, repetitive experiences with as close as you can get to similar results. And that's what I look for. And that's what Frank is looking for. And it's just the little things, right? I mean, blood pressure differences, atmospheric conditions. I mean, so many things that you can monitor, especially if you have access to a particular haunted location where you may be able to get repetitive environments.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm lucky enough that I do get to, I haven't been often enough lately, but to get to go to a couple of those. And that's the Old Paulding Jail where Shelley Robertson owns that. And she is using it as a research study. She is conducting particular experiments and she'll share them a lot. But, and Lori helps a lot with that with her September 11th research, because that's a weird thing happening there. No kidding. But it's just so cool because the little bit of information that she gleans each time they're having that, okay, is amazing. So that's what I try to do. I try to develop experiments that I can use to get repetitious behavior patterns or environmental patterns. And if I can get repetitive communication, repetitive spirits, people who are like, I spoke with you. And I'm not going to kid you. I get that when I go to the Old Paulding Jail, and I don't go, but every couple of years. Okay. And they know me. Mm-hmm. And when Shelley started doing her show on my network, the ghosts would give me shout outs on her show. I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, I do.
She would be doing her show and it would be like, oh, Kat Hobson, or where's Kat? And it used to freak me out a little bit, but not really, because I was so like, oh, hey guys. And it's exciting, right? When you've got something that shouldn't even be there, but it's remembering you and it's saying hi. I mean, we had a very bad first experience when we met. Not me and Shelley, me and the ghosts.
Yes, I remember.
It was very dramatic. And yet it wasn't, because nothing was actually moving, right? The sound was there, the stomping, the slamming the doors, everything was there. I could not hear the voices, but my producer at the time could. And I'm looking at these jail cell doors that I hear slamming and they're not moving. No, not a bit. And I'm just like, what is going on here, right? It was bizarre. It was so bizarre. And I'm so glad that I had that experience because I read about it in a Marie Jones book. I contributed to that. And that experience was part of, them being on Portals to Hell. That experience was one of the draws to, that they wanted to share. But not nearly as good as the bones that were in the cellar, though.
Yeah. That was actually a really good episode.
It was.
And it's too bad that Portals to Hell is no longer on TV.
I know, right?
So,
and
did they ever find out who the bones belong to besides Shelley?
Well, no.
Okay.
No, they did not. And in fact, I thought it was so bizarre that they could not rule out them being, they could not rule them all out of being human bones. That was the wacky doodle moment. Okay. I was just like, wow, this is weird. I don't believe this is even happening. And yet it did.
And we told people all the time when we were on the show, when you listen to the show later, you may hear EVPs in this. And we may not even have, because it's an EVP, we might not even hear it at the time, but we would hear it in replay. And I tell people a lot of the times, use the closed captioning, because sometimes words will come through that and you don't see our lips moving. Now.
Yes.
Back then, it was a whole different thing. You couldn't see us. You couldn't, you didn't know what we were doing or who's in the room with us. Now we can do a sweep and go, look, it's only Ron,
I know, right?
So,
and that's cool too, though, because I think, and I know you agree, that one of the most exciting things is getting that communication. I mean, it's so intense. It's so incredible. And it's almost like you've been chosen as a contestant for the night or whatever. And then you build relationships if it's someplace that you go a lot. And, I go into Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, right? I haven't for a long time, ever. But Ronnie has really been very good about helping interaction and stuff. And I've been there and seen, people are going to think this is crazy, but it's on video. I have to find the video, but it is on video. And I was sitting at the nurse's station, and if you've been to South Pittsburgh, you know where I'm talking about. It's
no, but we're going.
Well, you let me know, because I'm going with you. I'd love to be there for you for your first time. So let's do that. You want to?
Yeah, we will.
Oh, definitely.
Well, I will call you. We'll talk after the show, because we can make that work so well. But one of the things that I think is so much fun there, I was sitting by the nurse's station. My friend Lori was with me. It's hot. It's not that hot, but it's pretty uncomfortable hot. And we're sitting there. There's a fan blowing, which blows your EVPs out the window, but it was hot. So I'm just sitting there and I'm going back over something. And I noticed that Lori is just like very still, very still. And I was just like, what you doing? She was like, it's all right. So I'm sitting there and I look back down. I finish what I'm doing. I look over and a bouncy ball comes rolling by me. And I'm like, well, hey, thank you, whoever did that. That's so cool. Thanks. Well, the next thing I know, the bouncy ball is going behind the couch that Lori is sitting on, going to the fan. Okay. Not being blown away by the fan, but rolling to the fan. And I'm like, isn't that special? What are you doing? How is this happening? And you know what I'm talking about? It's one of those punch balls. I mean, It's just light as air, literally.
Yeah.
And it rolls toward the fan, and then it stays in front of the fan. It holds space in front of the fan. There's no physical way that could happen, right? And it's like it holds it as long as it can. It just shoots off and it comes back. And there's a coffee table between where Lori and I are sitting, and it rolls in front of Lori. And then the next few times it rolls in front of me, and then it'll just roll back down behind the couch, wherever it's positioned when it can't fight the fan anymore is the way it goes. So I was sitting there going, how is this even happening? I am not understanding anything about this. It did it forever. I mean, like, we walked away. And the first time I ever went to Old South Pittsburgh, I had somebody giving me so much K2 interaction, it's conversation wise, that I ran out of questions. Okay. Old South Pittsburgh, and you know me, I can talk, right? I don't run out of questions. It's just when I'm investigating, I try to shut up so that the spirit can talk. And I try to pace. Did Ron just say no way?
No, no. Oh, it was me. I said something, and
I'm teasing Ron.
It was me though. He hasn't said a word except for.
And I texted you my question.
No, he texted me a question.
Oh, okay.
So we haven't gotten to this yet. So Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Okay. Why do people who have an Bigfoot experience want to go find another? Oh, why do they want to go find another one, or do they not want to be within 50 miles of one?
One or the other.
It's one or the other.
It's either or.
Way to go and find another one.
Well, I'm going to tell you. You know Jay Bedosian. Okay, and he's the first sane Bigfooter I've talked to. Not really, but it seems like it.
Yeah, it seems like he is sane.
He does. But there's a guy here, and you'll probably wind up meeting him if you haven't yet. His name is Jonathan. And he is Alabama Bigfoot and Paranormal. And he has interaction, and he's very open about it. He has a Facebook page, and he puts videos on there. The first Bigfoot I saw on video that I was absolutely certain I knew the area, I knew the road that he had gone in on, all of that stuff. And he's walking out, and he walks out with a camera facing behind him as a rule.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's out, he's been in there for a while, and he's had interaction here and there, but he's walking out. And I guess he gets like, I don't know how big pastures generally are, but they seem to have a certain size. And he gets like that far away from the tree line, going down the road, going back to his truck. And this little Bigfoot, and it was small from the others I've seen on video, because I don't really care to catch a Bigfoot. Wouldn't mind meeting one if he was like Harry and the Hendersons. The science side of it, I want to have that experience. I want to know for myself that this is real. I like anything anomalous. I mean, I chase lights. I mean, but it got up from beside the tree, and it was relatively small, which probably meant it was a juvenile, which can be volatile from what I understand. But it just got up and walked around the tree and walked away from Jonathan. And I was like, that's probably still on the Alabama Bigfoot and Paranormal Facebook page. But I was stunned. And he would be a great guest, by the way. But he's such an interesting person. And he also investigates paranormal, and he has had several experiences with that too. So my cord is driving me crazy. But anyway,
I always ask the question with Bigfoot, should I be terrified to go in the woods?
Well, I mean, you've got in the woods all your life, right?
Pretty much. But, if there is a Bigfoot in them there woods, we have all these trees that are.
You have other stuff in your woods.
We have deer, I think.
You have other stuff.
I mean, all of our trees we have all these trees that if a Bigfoot guy came here, he'd be going, that's definitely done by Bigfoot. And I'd be going, no, Hurricane
Are they
Ivan.
the bends or the breaks?
We have bends, but they're from
That's Native American.
well, in this
Usually.
case, it's Hurricane Ivan.
Well, that too.
Oh,
Ivan was a bad old boy, and y'all were on the nasty side.
Yeah. And so a lot of these trees are still bent from all that.
Well, Sally came through there too. And again, same size as Ivan, same date. It made landfall in the same place, at the same category.
Mhm.
And it was just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So that storm was the equivalent of Ivan, and Pensacola and Florida was again on the nasty side, which means the worst damage. I mean, we had such damage, damage. But I mean, I had 2 trusses broken my roof. But as you get to the near west side of a landfall hurricane is the most damage that you're going to get. East side. I'm so sorry. The east side.
Yeah.
It's the worst damage that you're going to get. So,
well, the biggest damage was to the bridge,
Yeah.
So we're far enough away from that.
Oh gosh, that was the worst.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the bridge open when you moved down?
Yeah.
Okay, because it was closed for almost 2 years.
Yeah, it was closed when we came to help Lindsay move in back last August.
Yeah.
Because the only way there was only a couple ways we could go.
Get through Navarre.
So,
yeah.
So we didn't, they just opened it back up. They took it from all these lanes down to 2.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I mean, the bridge is.
Oh, that bridge. Yeah, I thought you meant the big bridge going from Pensacola to Pensacola Beach.
The big bridge is
both of them. Yeah.
It's 4 lanes each side, and it goes from 4 down to 2. And that everybody's complaining about that, about how it's a bottleneck at that bridge.
Well, I know that the bridge that comes from Pace to Pensacola on the 4-lane road, not the big road, but that bridge drives me crazy because they're always working on that bridge. So I get stuck there all the time. I have to plan it because I went to go see Mark's place, and then I have other friends that live in Milton too. And so it was just crazy. All of those bridges that were so damaged, hurricanes are a booger.
Okay.
What did Ron say?
Okay. I didn't get any of that, but I'm not going to make you re-say it.
Oh, was it me or was it you?
I don't know. Mine didn't go to make usually I can tell when it's me. So
okay.
I don't know. We don't know. We're not going to care.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Cool.
The main thing is when we replay, it will probably be fine.
Okay.
And I wanted to say hi to Ron's mom, Karen. She's out there in the chat room.
Hi, Karen.
Susan and Mike Roberts, they're listening tonight. Bill Schultz and April. So
I see it. Hi, April.
So
April says she heard me.
Yeah. So
it's good
who knows?
To see you, April.
So, and I hope that.
Oh, hi, Susan.
I hope that your son is doing okay tonight, April. Hopefully he's back to being all rehydrated. So,
dehydration is so bad.
Yeah. So the next question I have for you is when you spoke at the conference, you spoke about disclosure. And you made a remark that made me think. And we saw, just recently on Unexplained, they were talking about time travel. They were talking about Pascagoula. And you said if they were on one side or the other, then it was more believable. And I'm like, and I didn't know if I caught it right, but somebody had asked a question, and I know you can't hear it when we go to re-listen to this because it was so loud at that point in the conference to where I couldn't really hear you. But the lady in the front row, I believe it was basically that you guys were having a conversation back and forth that nobody behind you could hear. So what was that about?
Well, I don't remember. I do know that, it may have been, I did a presentation with Frank at a place in Orange Beach, and a friend of mine was, he's passed, but Calvin Parker was the person that had the Pascagoula abduction experience. He and his friend Charlie, I can't remember Charlie's last name, but anyway, I was talking about that event, and what was interesting, because they were on the opposite side of Biloxi from like coming toward Alabama. That's where Pascagoula is, and they were fishing, and I've never heard anybody talk about aliens having the kind of body structure and appearance at all of Calvin and Charlie's abductors. They were like the Michigan men with pinchers. Okay. And the craft that Calvin described, if I'm not mistaken, was like a pointy on the end egg, kind of like, and the light was blue. And so I was discussing, this may not be what you're talking about, but I know I spoke with somebody about this while we were there, but this woman, it may have been that same woman, was like, well, how do you know, or something like that. And I was like, well, when I was speaking in Orange Beach, which Orange Beach is a small community. It is on the other side of Mobile from Pascagoula. And if you live on the coast, you will live along the coast. A lot of times you'll marry somebody and move down wherever. Well, this woman came up to me after our presentation and said, that man was telling the truth. I saw that craft and the light was blue, and I saw it go down. And I guess when it came down to Calvin, and Calvin said that they actually saw the the being swimming like underwater and like under the dock and stuff. There was a whole lot of stuff to that particular incident, but the question probably was, how do you know, or what was that like, or something like that. But my main thing in the disclosure conference was, that lady asked me, I know what you're talking about, I think, when she was asking me about government disclosure. Was that it?
Like I said, I could only hear so much, and
Okay.
and I have not gone back and replayed any of your talk except for the little bit in the beginning to make sure that it was captured.
Right.
If it wasn't, oh well.
If it wasn't, oh well.
But I did capture it.
Well, I appreciate you recording it, because who came ready to do that? You did, not me.
But we just happened to decide to come back. If it hadn't been for Erica giving us a weekend pass as opposed to a day pass, we wouldn't have been there.
Well, I'm glad that you were, because that to me was such a fun thing to do, and to have you sit there, because you're so supportive. And, to me, that was fun. It was good to be with you, and it was good to, because usually when we've met at Eureka Springs and stuff, I'm chit-chatting, I'm getting quotes, trying to get interviews. That doesn't always work. And, it's just nice to get to sit down and catch up, because we had a lot to catch up on. Your life had changed tremendously. And, and to see your kids and grandkids and stuff, that's what life's about. It's not the other stuff. Mm-hmm. But the other stuff's fun, right?
Yeah.
I like the other stuff.
We had a really good time at that conference. even if I didn't walk around and meet anybody else, it was probably the best conference we'd been to because you were there, and I learned so much from you in the past. I mean, people ask us what we did over the weekend. Why didn't you get a table? I said, we didn't need one.
You didn't.
We were busy promoting you. And sometimes so much so that we forgot to promote that we have I have a show, that I do this, and
I told everybody you had a show.
Yeah. And I was just basically telling everybody about yours and everything because it was your booth. And then when you spoke, Ron even sat at your table to make sure that everything was okay. And he talked to all kinds of people, telling them about your show. And I was like, well, otherwise you'd have probably had to pick some stuff up and take it with you. And it was just kind of funny. But, I had a great time just being there and spending the time. And, and yes, you finally got to meet Piper. I mean, you'd only been hearing about her whole life.
Her whole life.
And,
her entire life.
Yeah, from the time that Lindsay got pregnant with her until the day you met her.
Yeah.
So, and then you got to see Nolan.
I know. Oh my gosh.
While he was sitting still. So, and Lindsay, she was like, I had my very first reading and I asked her what she thought. She goes, but she's trying to get us out there to UWF because it's got a lot of hauntings out there.
Really?
Mm-hmm. So
sounds like a road trip.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out more about it. We found some stuff online on YouTube. Some kids, some students who had gone there. They did some interviews, but it's been, years since they've done it. Well, and they interviewed the police department on campus, and they talked about the things that they'd had happen.
That sounds like a road trip. I'm coming down there at the end of the month.
I know you are. And I don't know when we can get on there. She's still trying to get some more information for us. But now that she works for the police department there, that's going to be interesting just to see what they're willing to share. But they told her, hey, there's buildings that they don't go into alone out there. Yeah.
Really? That's interesting.
But Rob Booth,
talk about that much.
Yeah. Rob Booth, he told me that part of the reason that he hates the fact that college is there is that it took away all the good fishing. And so apparently the bayous behind the school are really good fishing.
Yeah. Any bayou as a rule is pretty decent.
So
because it has so much wildlife.
And Steve, it's good to see you guys here. If you guys have any questions for Kat, please ask the questions and I will get them asked and I know she'll answer them. So another thing when you were talking about disclosure was you were talking about shapes of crafts.
Yes.
Can you explain, what should we be looking for in something that is not of this earth?
Really, I mean, it sounds so cliche, but as a rule, what I have heard and what I've experienced, but what I've heard in these conferences seems to be that they are pretty much either the deltas, which are really big, like huge, or they're the standard, UFO, the discs, they're different than they were, but not that much from the original origins. Oh, do you know who the pilot was that made the first report on the Phoenix Lights?
No.
It's trivia. But it's the only reason I know is because Rick McCollum told me. Okay. I wouldn't know otherwise. But it was Kurt Russell.
Kurt Russell?
Kurt Russell, the actor. He was a private pilot, and I guess he was on his way to go somewhere. And he was like, hello, pilot to bombardier kind of a thing. But yeah, he is who filed that report. And I mean, all the thing about, oh, well, they were flares or they were this or they were that. Well, they were uniform. They did not descend the way flares do. And this was back when flares were probably not as well controlled. And, so to me, that was interesting. Who knew? I'd never heard that.
No,
I've been
me
looking
either.
at UFOs for decades, right?
I can just imagine Goldie talking back to him and going,
do not make that call.
Yeah, why did you not call me first?
Yeah. And the whole like, no. But I just found that was one of the more interesting aspects of anything. But the main thing, I do not know what craft we have. Like, I was on my way home from Contact in the Desert, which is a big UFO conference in California every year. And it's right on the edge of Joshua Tree, so it's a really fun place to go. But I came down from my room. It was checkout, go home day. I had to drive into not all the way into LA. I had to drive to my I can't remember the name of the airport, but it's a small outside airport. But and it's a Canadian town. But anyway,
Ontario
Airport. Thank you. Or maybe like a province. But anyway, so I come downstairs. I've seen this stuff. I wasn't really paying attention. And, on my news feed, because I was trying to get ready and go. Well, I came downstairs and Cheryl Costa says, so what do you think about the news? And I'm like, she said the craft. And I'm like, bits of that are coming back to I'm like, oh my God, was that the guy? And she was like, yeah, that's the report. So that was when the guy comes out and he says, we have craft and we have bodies. And I thought Nancy Mace was so funny when she did her, in the hearing, when she was like, do we have pilots? And he's like, yes, there are biologicals. And she's like, are they human biologicals? And he's like, no, they are not. And her face would have been my face. I mean, oh my God. So that is stuff that I absolutely love. But that was coming out the day I was going to be in the air for 6 hours. Well, actually 8 hours. And I'm like, I can't talk to anybody about this. This is the biggest thing since sliced bread, although I don't know what was big before sliced bread. But, there I am trying to get a handle on this, trying not to miss my flight because they're tough to get extra ones. And, I was just like, I'm going to go crazy. Oh, what do I think is the origin of the craft? I think that they're coming from wherever they want to come from. They're not us. They're not anything that we have the technology for that they admit to. I think that a lot of the things that we see are ours. I've interviewed people who say that they're pilots, that they have been abductees who fit in well enough with their UFO family that it was a safer place than home. And they were asked, well, if you're going to be with us, what do you want to do? And that person said, I want to fly this. And they said, well, all right, let's teach you. And so does that sound crazy? Absolutely, that sounds crazy. Do I believe her? I believe her. Because
just because it sounds crazy doesn't mean it's not true. I mean,
we hunt ghosts and talk to them. He's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, hunting's the wrong word, but we investigate. But, because I wouldn't want to be hunted. But,
No.
I do think that there are people who have relationships with people that aren't from here. And I was told that since the polarization of Earth, since the magnetic shift, I was told that anything that we see in this time period as ours, because they use our magnetic field to navigate around us. And if our magnetic shield is jacked up, then it's a danger to them. And so, until that rights itself, they weren't going to be close to us. So if we saw anything in that time period, it was ours. So that's what I was told.
Do you know when that magnetic shift occurred?
Yeah, it occurred. It was this year. When it the first of this year?
I don't know.
The first of this year? I think it was.
Okay. So
my cup is not working. I'm sorry. I'm thirsting to death.
So the next question. The next question I would have after that, has there been any sightings this year then that you know of?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I do not necessarily follow sightings unless they're near me or unless somebody that I know is experiencing that, because there's so many and they're everywhere. I mean, it's not like this is just a southeastern U.S. thing. Okay.
Right.
This is everywhere. It is global. The uniformity of the shapes, the uniformity of the experiences, the experiencers are very different. I mean, it can be like me walking down the beach and, oh, look, oh my gosh, that is not ours. Although my beach is a stone's throw from NAS Pensacola. And they have all the things there. Plus, we have the Coast Guard in Mobile. Plus, we have an Air Force base in Biloxi. There's all kinds of stuff that, although I'm not sure what Keesler does, but I do know that NAS Pensacola is an air base, Naval Air Station. So they're going to have all kinds of fun toys. And they're the home of the Blue Angels. They are the pilots. So if anybody's going to get to play with something, I would hope that it would be them.
Had you heard anything about the Gulf Breeze incident? Because I didn't know about that until I was at the conference. Yeah. And that there's a couple books about it and stuff. I've got them. Yeah, our library, Santa Rosa County, only has so much, and they don't do
paranormal.
They don't do the interlibrary sharing thing like the.
Oh yeah.
In Lewisburg,
really?
I could get a book from Indiana, from Purdue, which I did. I got a book from Purdue in my house, but in Florida, you can only get Florida. They don't share outside the state.
Well, Gulf Breeze was, I don't remember the year, but Gulf Breeze was a very interesting thing. And I know somebody who, he told me that he was kidding because I told him that I was going to be doing a conference discussion and that I wanted to have all of my ducks in a row. And he was not officially, I found out it wasn't official, a man in black for that incident.
Mm-hmm.
However, he did show up there in a black rental car that they had to come in. So do I think that
Clover?
I tell you what, it's no different ever, is it?
No.
Between kids and my dogs, it's just, although I have two small ones, they just yap now.
And I'm so sorry about Kylie.
Oh, thank you. I can't talk about that very well.
I know you can't.
So I lost my lab, who we'd had since she was 6 weeks old. My daughter brought her home and left her out in a thunderstorm. And so she became mine. And she was my best road buddy, my best yard buddy. She followed 4 other wonderful dogs that we had lost over time. And we had a little adopted girl named Heidi who developed leukemia, sudden onset leukemia. And we lost her right before we lost Kylie, a few months before we lost Kylie. And so I am a dog person, so a little bit. And so now we have only 2. I've never had only 2, and or not for a long time. And they're small. I don't know what to do with small dogs, and they're crazy, and they're both males. And so, but we went from a lab and a Spitz and a Catahoula. Bernie was the anomaly with being a little dog. And then,
those dogs are crazy.
Yeah, the Catahoula. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my vet told me that I was the only person she knew that would have gotten a Catahoula for a family pet.
Our neighbors across the street in Lewisburg, they had one.
Really?
So
really,
yeah.
How big?
I don't know. How big was the dog catty cornered from us? The Catahoula that Becca was training.
Mm-hmm.
I think
50 pounds. Maybe.
About 50 pounds.
Yeah. Yeah, my vet said that she'd seen one put a bull down by the lip before, and that surely it would be able to handle Aaron. So, and he handled everything, but he was very passive, unless something was threatening to one of us. And he was wonderful.
Okay, I'm not going to talk about the one thing that I do know about. Did your dogs ever seem to witness paranormal activity? Not succumb to it or anything like that. We're going to talk about
they have. They would see it, and my house is haunted. Mm-hmm. I don't talk about that in front of David very much, but he's not in here. So, but it really is. I get family spirits, and I've had things that were not family show up, and that was an interesting time. And I had a friend who helped me with that. So, and my husband actually was like, I had to have Frank come and help me do something, and David was out of town. I was like, look, I have to let you know that I need to do this, and he's here and can help. Is that okay? And he was like, yeah, sure. And that was when Frank became a believer in religious paranormal. So, because he saw something. And that my research partner is a great big skeptic, mm-hmm. who has experiences, okay? But he is very difficult to convince that what we come to look at is real, unless he experienced it. And
to me, I mean, just because I tell people this all the time, just because I see spirits and I hear spirits doesn't necessarily mean that I believe everything lock, stock, and barrel.
Yes.
You can't.
There's too much out. I mean, people are always going to be trying to get one over on you. I mean, people do that. But as a rule, and I know, we both are gifted. We know when people are lying to us. And we know when people are frightened. And I think a lot of people come into I'm sorry, that got me tickled. But I lost my train of thought. And you're welcome for the spoon. But a bunch of UFO experiencers and abductees taught me how to do the spoon. So I don't mind sharing that. But when I was doing the thing with Frank, and we're going through, and I'm doing the prayer side, he's doing the holy water side. He has one job, right? Squirt the stuff and say amen when I say amen. Well, the sprayer broke. the first time he squeezed the trigger. And I didn't know that because he wasn't going to tell me. And when I was like, you're supposed to respond when I say this, you have to do this. It's a big deal. And so as he's trying to make the trigger work, he sees what he had described as a guy in a black morph suit. And I was like, what? So that was my experience with that. And I have never had that around me again because I learned how not to. But it's really an interesting thing. I got sidetracked. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. That's what being live does to you.
Gulf Breeze. The guy, that was a real event. You can still go. I don't know where it is, but I'm going to find it. We can find it together if you want to.
Yeah, I'm waiting on the book to come into the library so that I can read it because I want to know.
Well, there's a place where you can go, and they said that it's marked on the road where the people saw the UFO.
Okay.
Stand at the vantage point and look off toward wherever it was. But my friend who said that he was not the man in black on that case was probably so. He said he was kidding.
Yeah. Well, we did talk about that a little bit while we were there.
Yeah.
At the conference.
But it's so amazing to me that all these military personnel that they have down there, that they would bring someone in. But I think it would be somebody that might have experience in that field,
mm-hmm.
as opposed to fighter jockeys and stuff like that. I mean, also, you don't just have Pensacola, NAS Pensacola there. There's an airfield and air base in Destin.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I lived there, all the pilots would come in to, wherever, they like to dance, they like to talk, they like to whatever. And they would just sometimes talk. But that was a very long time ago.
Yeah, that was Eglin.
Yes,
and
but
then
that was
you also have Panama City Beach has Mexico Beach
yes.
on the other side. I mean, we've got like we're kind of like Leavenworth. Leavenworth has, all these
yes.
prisons. We are the opposite. We have all these airfields. We
yes.
have like 12 airfields right here by us.
Yes. And you have the helicopter training, which is up above Panama City and outside of Dothan, Alabama.
And there's also helicopter training right here in Pace at
yes.
the end of my daughter's street.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
cool.
Oh, well, good. Hope Richie's doing good in Georgia then.
I hope so too.
But is there anything really common in every abduction case that you've heard of? Or are they all that different? I mean, we know that all the people are different, but has there been anything that's always consistent in the stories that people tell?
I don't really think that there are. I mean, you'll have similarities, but there's one instance where two men had shared an experience, okay? And it's written in a book called The Devil's Den Incident.
Oh, yeah.
And, okay, well, the guy that wrote that is a friend of mine. And he lived through that experience, but his friend who also did, okay, they saw the Delta coming in, and the friend was so traumatized by his experience that the next morning when they got up, my friend, went to open the window, they were camping, get out, and the friend with him started freaking out. I mean, wigging out, because he was like, no, they'll come back. You don't remember anything. What? And apparently his memory wipe had not taken. Okay. And my friend did not retain that memory.
Mhm.
And his friend, the book is fascinating. You have to read the book. It's in Devil's Den, and it's really, yeah, it's just amazing.
So
And
when Kat's talking about Devil's Den, she's not talking about the Devil's Den in Gettysburg. She's talking about
no, it's not that one.
the one
but
in.
I thought it was. I
no,
mean, when I
I-
first started talking to him, I thought it was.
Yeah, it's in northwestern Arkansas.
Yes. It's a
Ron's
campground.
dad took us to Devil's Den. Ron used to go all the time when he was a kid, and all the caves are closed right now because of bats. It can kill you.
Well, they could have that. I wouldn't
So-
argue about that.
But my question to Terry would be, so I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, Terry Lovelace.
My question is why did you go the route that you went from Whiteman to there? Because there's better ways to go. You can get there faster. It doesn't take 5 hours to get from Whiteman to Devil's Den. That was the only problem I had with the story was you went the wrong way.
I don't know why, but for whatever reason, that's where they wanted to camp.
Yeah.
And I just have no idea what they did along the road or whatever. But, something that was interesting to me was that Terry later, he had implants.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And the only reason he knew about him is because he was a runner and they started giving him trouble on his run. They were around his knee and his lower thigh. So I knew about that. I knew what they looked like and where they were.
Mm-hmm.
I went into an experiencer session. One of the experiencer counselors knew me, and she knew I was media, but she also knew that I was concerned, that I was not concerned. I mean, if I am as an experiencer. And I wanted to see what a group was like. And she was perfectly fine with that because she knows I have ethics. She knew I was not going to be anybody to be afraid of for anyone. Well, she starts showing slides, and one of the slides is the exact configuration that was in Terry's leg. It was not Terry's.
Mm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to say about this. And it was really weird because through this whole session, I'm getting very uncomfortable. Like the more she starts showing images, the more she starts talking about things, the more I'm getting like, oh, I'm not sure I should be here. This is so weird. But it worked out to be a pretty interesting experience for me because I started assessing things for myself. And I also started questioning things that I was hearing, like when the hearing started coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
All this stuff that they're not talking about experiencers anymore. I don't know if you picked up on that. UFO is no longer the vernacular.
Mm-hmm.
It is UAP. It is it's not based on human experiences anymore. It is based on aerodynamics and science and all those kind of things.
So if it's based on science, then my thoughts is that it's replicatable. It's going to happen over and over again, and that it is a factual thing that we are not the only beings in whatever universes we are.
Whole universe. Yeah. And, but the problem with how this is being handled too is not only are you getting repeatables, but you're also getting away from historic reference. Because when our grandkids and their kids start researching this, it's going to take somebody with some history to look for UFOs, unless you can find a reference at that point that says UFOs. Oh, former term for UAPs, and then by then UAPs will be something else. But it's a way, I think, to bury the history. And so, are we going to lose all this history? They're biblical references to UFOs. I mean, for God's sakes, Elijah left in a flaming chariot that was spinning.
Well, not only that, we've got UFOs that are carved into
hieroglyphs.
Pictographs. We got the glyphs. We have all the glyphs in all kinds of parts of the world. In fact, some are in Wentzville, Missouri, if anybody wants to go look at those.
Absolutely. They're everywhere.
They are.
And, something that I found interesting when years ago, I don't know if anybody under our age will know this, but I know they will. But when we went to war with Iraq, all of these people all the jihadis were in the desert blowing up antiquities, like the horsemen, they were monolithic horsemen carvings, and they blew them up because they were against their faith to have that. I mean, they weren't worshipped. They were humans. But, all of this stuff, all this history, all these antiquities are being destroyed. And it's not just in that instance. I mean, it happens a lot.
Everywhere. Yeah.
People steal them. People disappear them. They're in collections. But to go back to, will we be able to find this stuff later? I'm afraid that this information is going into removing evidence, and because I don't trust our government very much, I get told all the time that, we have peace as we know it. This is not peace as we know it. This is a lot of people angry and walking around angry all the time, and nobody's trying to help them not be angry.
Yeah,
it's just.
It reminds me of what, right now, the peace that they're trying to say we have is maybe in their mind.
Well, they're trying to they're trying to convince us. And, I have been, this is rude. I'm not going to do that. But, as far as what size is and stuff. But, it's just like, no. People are not, people are struggling right now. There's a lot of struggle right now. It's not utopia. I mean, it's never been utopia. It's not going to ever be utopia because it's reality. But now we're being told that things are worse than they are. We get, depending on what the agenda is, we get told things are so much worse or things are so much better, when actually it's whether you can put food on the table and take care of your family. If you can do that, life's pretty okay. If you can't do that or you're struggling, we have issues. They need to be addressed. But anyway, I digress. I get on my soapbox. I did that when I was talking to you because it was like, really, you trust your government? You think your government is going to tell you if there is something we need to be concerned about that might cause us to have an attitude about what they're telling us or didn't tell us so that we could prepare? Or, kind of like where we are now.
Right. And the thing is we all know what we know.
We do.
We all have an opinion.
We do.
That may not be based on, it's based on what we know, but is what we know factual, or is it feeling?
It's what we're told.
And that's one of the things I tell people all the time. No matter what it is, get all the facts that you can get.
Yes, from every angle.
Yeah. Don't
be locked in.
Yeah. Don't take my word for, I saw Bigfoot in my backyard yesterday, and
If you
that's
did
a
cut him
fact.
down, yeah.
You know, check it out. Find out, are Bigfoot seen in my area? Call me, don't call me a liar because I believe that that's what I saw.
But find out if you could see it too.
Yeah.
I mean,
and if I find out I'm wrong, that's fine. I need the facts so that I can make a good decision.
yes.
And
it's
that's
okay to be wrong.
Yeah. And it's okay to admit that you're wrong.
Yes.
I'm
wrong 6 times before breakfast. I mean, everybody is. Everybody has things that they don't quite get.
Mm-hmm.
And
this is
if
how
you
we
make
learn.
a mistake because you're trying to get it, good on you. You should, because you'll remember what that taught you. And it was really funny that because when I asked that question in that group that I was talking, and I was like, do you really think your government's got your best interest on this one? And everybody's like, nope.
Yeah.
And,
what's bad is that we might have been kicked off the air at some point tonight because of this, but oh well.
Well, I'm sure that it's being recorded, so we'll be fine.
Well,
but,
it is. But it's the same as all the crap we've went through in the past. No matter what it is, we will all get through it. The main thing is you're right, and that's what we all need to remember is we will get through it one way or another.
And we're not enemies. If we don't agree, we're not enemies.
Yeah.
And it's okay to disagree.
Yeah.
That's where I think that's where the divisiveness is being fed,
mm-hmm.
is that just because I sound like this, I look like this, I'm this age, I'm from this region, whatever, does not mean that I don't empathize and understand that you may have some angst with what is happening in your world.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have angst with what's happening in mine sometimes, a lot, because I read way too much to do my job. You do too. I mean, you're aware.
It is. I mean, it is, again, like Steve Foster says, it is what it is.
Yes.
Or it doesn't exist. That's the ruling elite.
Yeah.
But you know what? Some things, it is what it is.
It is.
And I have a tendency with that a lot of times is, agree to disagree and move on.
Just go on.
Let it go. I want people to be able to talk to me about anything and know,
yes,
I'm not going to judge you. I mean, look at what I do.
I know, right? Look what sits behind me. Who am I to judge? I mean, there's a ghost back there somewhere too, along with the beach and the UFO.
Yeah.
And there's a painting by a dolphin over there. But, it's just
we hear the craziest stories.
Yes, we do.
And the thing is we have our own crazy stories. So who are we to judge? And that's what people need to think about. Why are you judging everybody? Not you personally, but
come on, it is me. No.
Why are people judging other people? I don't remember that back in the 80s. And boy,
because everybody was high in the 70s and they were recovering in the 80s.
Yeah.
But,
well,
I heard that.
Maybe it took us a while to get off the Aquanet. I don't know. But, we should have been judging people back then for the clothes that we wore back in the 80s.
Oh, please. And the people that let us put them on.
Oh,
good heavens. We had parents and grandparents who were enablers with that.
Oh, I know. and, so we kind of need to go back to the era of the best music ever in the 80s. And we need to.
Oh, no. No. The decade prior to the 80s. 70s was so much better.
I'd say 75 to 90.
Yeah.
Was good.
Yeah.
So.
I do too.
But, we need to go back to that. And it's not the era of love because we did. I mean, it's not that we loved everything about it, but we had a good mix of everything.
And people weren't so mean.
They weren't
mean.
I mean, the only fights I recall were in the gas lines. I remember
there were some too.
I
remember seeing those.
And the thing is I wasn't that old. I mean,
I wasn't.
I was about 12 years old.
I was 20. almost. In the
So-
80s, 70s, I was in my teens. That was a lot of fun, unless you were my mother. But
Well, thank God we didn't have these.
thank God.
Because
Oh my
there's
God,
no
can you
good
imagine if there was
example.
documentation of that crap?
Thank God, thank
Oh my
God.
goodness. I would never work anywhere that would have to have a clearance.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
I
we
never
did.
will again anyway, so it's all good. But it's
So-
just, it's a crazy world.
It is. So
But we're being trained to be that way.
right, and that's the. I just wish people would. I wish the news would go off the air
Yep, I do too.
because it's not news anymore. It's now bias, and that's the part that's bothering me.
And it's what
this-
pits us against one another because it depends on what, what trough you're feeding at.
Mhm.
And then, if it's not the one that I'm feeding at, then I'm an ox to be gored because I don't agree with your viewpoint or I've been told something different. And God forbid that we should, and I'm not this way because I like everything. I listen to just about everybody here or there. I try to make my own opinion. Usually my opinion is very, very straight-laced and boring. But, I do expose myself to more than one mindset. And I think that's important because there are a lot of people that because I sound like I sound, I'm from where I'm from, my area has the history that it has. There are people that think that I am a knee-jerk conservative that's not going to listen to anyone else's opinion, have any thought up for myself that's not fed to me
Mhm.
by, XYZ conservative host, whatever, and that I am not able to think for myself or do my own research.
Right.
The
And
problem
everybody
is that I
needs
was trained in my education to be able to do my own research and form opinions. So, you have to be able to do that.
Yeah, you have to know how to. I liken it to picking a crab.
Oh yeah,
You got to know which parts are edible, because otherwise you're
and
eating.
don't make the mistake.
Yeah,
make
if
sure
you
you know.
you're in deep
Yes.
shit, and you're gonna be sick
In
and
the
stuff.
hospital. Yeah,
Right. So it's the same thing. You've got to know what your source, where it's coming from,
yes.
and is it opinion? I learned
Versus fact, because there's a big difference.
But again, in every bit of opinion is some fact, but what
Yes.
part of it is the fact and which part is not? You got
That's
to
where
learn how
knowing the
to pick apart.
situation yourself gives you
Mhm.
the objectivity to understand that.
Gives you the power.
Yeah.
And, there's so many things that we as adults can do that we couldn't have done when we were younger, but our parents behooved it, gave it to us and said, here, look it
Yes.
up.
Did you have the big encyclopedias?
Yes.
I
My
still
mom-
have mine.
My mom.
So, and it's not right in a lot of places.
Yeah, it's not right now. It's not right now.
Yeah.
Because there
A lot of
more
it still
information
is,
came
though.
in. Huh?
A lot of it still is.
Yeah, a lot of it
But-
still is. But there's so much stuff that was
Yeah.
left out to whitewash our history. And
Well,
then
they whitewash our history and they didn't know everything.
they didn't. And that's why
And
you had to get the supplements for the encyclopedias. So if you
Yeah.
stopped getting them, then you had an old set.
And you had no knowledge to go from going forward, no new knowledge.
But now
Yeah.
they'll tell your kids, Google it. No. Britannica it.
Yes.
Go learn how to look it up in an encyclopedia. Learn the Dewey Decimal System so you can go find that book in the library.
My God. That was my first work study job, was shelving books in the library at my college. And the fun part was that, my training as a paralegal required that too. And if you didn't have the ability to do your own research, what good were you to help someone else? You had to be able to do that. And if I put my books away improperly, no one would ever see them again. It was a big library.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
it was just a matter of you had to be able to think and analyze and reason.
And this is the biggest part of paranormal investigating or any kind of investigating is facts and
Yes.
research,
Yes.
and it's not all the fun experiments.
No, it's
It's-
not. You better be doing the work too.
Yep. I mean, it's fun to just walk into some place and investigate it and never go back and research it.
Yeah.
But some people want to research it before. Some people want to research it after.
I like after.
I like after too, because it gives me some places to go look.
Well, it does, and also if you're so locked in to the history of a place, then you might not know the full history of a place, and you'll have an experience, but you won't recognize that as an experience. So you will be missing out. You will be missing out. You know, whoever's there interacting with you is not going to catch your attention because they're not doing what you expect to be there. And so then they miss out too.
Mm-hmm.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, you're absolutely right. You have to know some, but you need to be open to other too.
So we're coming near the end of the show. I want to ask you a question. This was easy because it's all personal opinion.
Okay.
So this is a question that we've been asking everybody here of late. So if time travel was possible, would you go forward or back? And why? And to what event?
Oh my gosh. And I know I can get out of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's so hard. I would go forward. And I don't know how far forward I would go. I think I would go to where it would be the next. It's not an incarnation, but the next experience that we have as humans, the next step forward that we're going to make. And I want to be able to go through wormholes. I want to be able to explore things that are brand new to us. I want to see what the cosmos are like. I want to see the things that I'm a creationist, and I want to see the things that God put out there as treats. I mean, things that He did for Him that He thought were cool. And I know that I like the things that He did that I can see so far. I love water. I love mountains. I love the sky. I love the sky. I think that I would go forward because I think in going forward, we could actually go all the way back. I think we'll find a way to utilize other methods of travel, and we can go all the way
When
back.
we want as opposed to where.
Hmm?
That we can go to when we want as opposed to where.
Yeah. Can you imagine? Because you could travel, if you're using wormholes, there's no limit. If Einstein is right and those suckers work.
Do you believe that time travel is already occurring?
Yes, I do.
Do you think it's people coming from the future or it's people from the past?
Both.
Did you watch The Unexplained with William Shatner, this last one?
No.
Watch it.
Really?
We're not finished watching it yet.
Yeah, we are.
Are we?
Yeah.
Then, did you delete it?
David probably has it recorded. We record all of the fun things.
Yeah, I know it's only an hour, but it seems like I missed something.
Yeah, you're looking at your phone.
No, I was working. So, because
What do you think you missed?
I don't know what I missed.
He's
We'll do it
looking at
again then.
So I was working on a report when he had it on, and I was doing some work that I never got finished altogether until like 1:00 last night.
Well, we will talk about it the next time we talk.
So I
There's so
don't know.
much.
I could
Do you-
retake it.
Do you think that time slips occur?
Yes, I do.
Because that's one of the things I thought was really interesting on there was the time slip theory.
Who did he have on there with him on that one?
Well, he had the one guy
It was
that's
just on Friday.
Yeah, it was.
I'll find it. I'm sure it's on my recorder.
Brand new.
Yeah. So I'll have to look at it again and see. But they
I'll
had the
find-
one
I'll
guy
get it.
that was that's always on there. The Asian guy that's really, really smart. He's got I know he's got at least one PhD.
Oh, Keku?
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
him. He's really
I
smart.
love him. I actually reached out to him for an interview. I don't know yet. It hasn't been that long. I'm hoping he'll come back and say, "Why, yes, I'd love to speak with you." The weirdest people have.
Oh, I know.
You know?
Well,
You never know.
well, we were watching. They had another show on. It was basically they renamed Paranormal Caught on Camera,
Yes.
and I saw Rosemary on there.
Oh,
And I was
Yeah.
like, oh, it's so sad. This, sometimes it's a good thing to see the people that we can't see anymore,
yeah.
that they're still alive in TV land,
And isn't that just a joy sometimes? Because I know that she was a huge, huge friend of the owner of Fate magazine, and her loss was tremendous for us at the magazine.
He's the only one
But-
that made sense.
She was the only one on that whole show that made any sense.
I believe that.
She was the only one that wasn't always making everything paranormal, that it couldn't have been faked. Some people on those shows, sometimes
Yes.
it's hook, line, and sinker. And I'm like, this is not fact.
I can see the
This is all
string.
opinion. Okay.
Yes.
It's all opinion. And what about the string? The thing, all the stuff that's off camera. Why suddenly do you have up cameras in your bedroom at night for no,
Well, I'm going to tell you that there's not going to be any cameras that anyone else would ever see in my bedroom.
this is
Ever.
so when we're done with
Yes.
this show, there's this little thing up here on my computer that I close so you can't see. And it's closed because I have two monitors on either side. No
Yeah.
one's going to see anything unless I've lifted this up and my bed is made. If my bed
Yes.
is not made, then I was not planning on being on here. And I did not feel well that day. But
Well, I'll
bed
tell
is
you,
made.
I'm not even allowed to have a bed in my shot for my because I'm doing a video, because I'm paranormal experienced and Fate. They run on WBHM-db, but Race Hobbs is producing my shows because I got tired of not being able to focus on my guests.
Mhm.
So, and I'm going to video. So I was like, well, my alien is staying in my shot. I love my alien. David got him for me.
Well,
That-
he fits.
He does. And behind him is he's being a little, but behind him is a Buddhist blessings shawl, and also a plaque that says, "Dear Ocean, I miss you all the time." And I do. But every time I get my feet wet, I'm just a thrilled girl.
We just went over to Gulf Shores last week. We
Oh,
were
we
invited
did.
by a friend, and we walked on the pier, saw a couple
Oh.
of sharks,
Yeah.
and let's see, we walked from. Oh, she was on the east side of the main road, so we were on the east side of the hangout, and we
Okay.
walked down there. Found out. So remember when I saw you, I said I was recovering from shingles?
Yeah.
I was not. All my medication, all three of the ones that I have to take, all make me photosensitive. It's a rare problem. 5 in 1,000 people. On each one of
Oh,
these has. Mhm. And I'm taking 3 of these, so it made me super sensitive, and I've been breaking out
Oh, my
rashes from
gosh.
the sun. Yeah. So now I know.
My
I
gosh,
know what
that's
it is.
not good where you live.
Oh, it just means I
Oh,
just got to wear
wow.
sunscreen every day.
Well,
But-
yes.
We're moving
But
to
still,
Minnesota.
I mean,
We are not moving to Minnesota. I'm more allergic to snow.
I'm more allergic to snow too. Oh my gosh, that's so horrible.
But you think about it, you go, I mean, since you've known me, that would be 4 times that I would have had shingles
Yes.
in 5 years or 8
Yes.
years. And it's like, this is
Wow.
ridiculous. Not to mention probably 3 in the last 5.
Yeah.
And so I told Ron, I said, I just have a suspicion, and I go and I look it up and find it out. But again,
Yes.
I made a decision based on, I made an opinion based on how I felt every time I had shingles.
Yeah.
Going, it feels like this. It's got to be this. Surprise. No, it wasn't. So guys, even if your medication doesn't say it makes you photosensitive, look it up.
Oh yeah.
Check it out, because it is not on any of my medication bottles. It is
Really?
not out. No, it is not on
Well,
any of them.
Wow, because I have, antibiotic allergies, and I have to take doxycycline more than if it's something really serious. And that does produce that. And I finally told my doctor, I said, you know what, we're going to give this we're going to give my immune system a shot, because I do not want to take this stuff anymore. I'm a beach person. I'm a water person. I am not sit in the house in the shade and hide from the sun
That's
person.
I've
And that's what
become
you
that.
have to do. You have to.
Yeah, I have become the person I'd like to be outside more often. I mean, I have a beautiful yard. I have
Yeah.
beautiful weather. And I'm like, out of all things, I moved to the beach, and I'm allergic to, I'm not allergic to the sun, but my medication makes me react to the sun.
Do you
And
have to take that, or are there alternatives?
we'll talk about that later.
Okay, that's
So-
fine. I mean, because I can't, if I'm sick, like if I have something that needs an antibiotic, I have to take the doxy.
Yeah.
So,
And see, and I
and
can't
I
take
have to be
doxy.
really careful about that, because when that stops work, when that's a problem, then I'm going to really have a problem.
Yeah, I can't take
So-
doxycycline. I'm actually allergic to it, but they just
Yeah.
put me on a Z-Pack a few weeks ago, and I'm not
I can
having
take
problems
those too,
with that.
but sometimes I have to have more than one, and that's problematic too.
Yep.
And the
It's hard.
doxy usually will knock it right out.
But again, you got to know stuff.
You do.
You got to research it, and you got to know what's causing all your problems. But guys, I am going to tell you Kat, tell everybody where they can find you, and then I'll say my spiel.
Okay, well, I am on Facebook. I am on LinkedIn. I have a web page that's kathobson.com, but I don't have really much on that. I'm working on that. It's brand new. But WBHM-db.com is the network's page. And you can find us on Spreaker, anywhere you get your streaming. My shows are on unxnetwork.com on Mondays. No, that's not right. On Sundays and Wednesday nights. Sunday is Fate Mag Radio. Wednesday is Paranormal Experienced with Kat Hobson. And once those air on UNX Network, they will be on all of my streaming services, which go through Spreaker, which means anywhere that you get streaming, you will find me. And probably YouTube, but they're not. They're all audios. So they're fixing to be videos, and they're going to be so much fun. Hopefully. We'll find out.
So you're on UNX Network, Margie's network?
Yeah.
I've talked to her quite a few times because, she lived in Independence.
Yeah.
So needless to say, right down the road from where we
That
live.
was.
So, but yeah, I've met her a few times, and tying her down is, you better have a bungee cord. Because
Well, I'll tell you that she's really pretty cool. From my very, very limited exposure to her, when Phyllis, who owns Fate Magazine, had a stroke, and we had a couple of months that it was hard for her to get the magazine put together and out because she was recovering. And right as it was coming out, Margie was like, if you need me to publish that, I'll be glad to help out. And that was right at the time that Phyllis already had it into the printer and stuff. So, but she was gracious. I thought that was gracious. So there you go.
Yeah, her and Jean are, all right there. I spent some time with them back at a couple different events that were done in Kansas City, and I always liked her, and I know that she's also part of the MUFON network there, and
Yeah.
a bunch of other stuff. So
She does a lot of stuff.
she does. I mean, did you meet her down at the Excelsior or Eureka Springs conference when you were down there?
I don't remember.
Okay. Did you meet Gene Walker while you were down there?
Yes.
Okay. They had car trouble. That's the only reason I can remember that they were there. So,
They had car trouble?
yeah, they had van trouble.
Okay.
So
I didn't meet her, but I do remember hearing about that.
yeah. So as we were talking with her with Frank when we were there.
Mhm.
So as you were going in to eat dinner, we were all going out to eat dinner.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, there's some neat places to go. I found a place that has a grotto in it. Have you been there? It's
Is
got like a real grotto.
Oh, well, no, probably not. We never even got down into the caves in there. So, but it's, remember it was snowing.
That's true. And I was freezing my yin yang off. It was so cold.
It shouldn't have been snowing.
No, it should not have been cold.
So I would like to thank everyone for coming and listening tonight to the Paranormal Pride. Please join us next Monday night at 7 p.m. Central for whatever paranormal guest I have in store for you. You'll find out closer to the time that I find out. So hopefully right after. And on top of that, join us tomorrow night at 5 p.m. Central, right here on the Bill of Rights Network, with my guest. Let's see, where's his card? This is going to be fun. It's a guy I met at the conference. So we're going to be talking to a guy who is a life coach, and him and his wife run a business down here in wherever, down here in Fort Walton. So I think it'll be really interesting to hear, hey, how can you use a life coach, and what do they have to offer? Is it something we need to be looking at? Do we need that kind of help? I don't know. Maybe you will. So join us tomorrow night on No, not there. Join us here on the Bill of Rights Network tomorrow night at 5:00 with Carl, myself, and Ron. And we'll be talking to, like I said, if I could remember his name, I'd tell you, but you'll have to come and tune in to find out. So
there you go.
Thank you guys, and join us again next week. Bye.